like, as an adult, you're like, oh, the reason that bathroom stalls are shaped the way that they are is to keep people from being assaulted. Like, that's why there's gaps on the bottom and stuff. But think about the fact that as women, you have to do the act of putting tampons in on a public toilet, and the toilet is facing the door, and there's those cracks where you sometimes can see people. And it's just the worst thing ever.
It is terrible,
Like,
yes.
homie.
Okay, so first of all, I have to tell you that the last episode we did with that horrible book that was filled with
All of
violent
these
sex crimes, it was the least listened to that we've ever had. And I'm so glad for that.
I'm not surprised at all.
I'm so glad for that. But I'm glad for that because that was the worst book I've ever read in my life. Okay, welcome to Read It and Screech, the podcast
where he will do anything to make sure I'm his again.
If you're too loud, you can sit with us while I give you the Cliff's Notes and the cringiest quotes, and we go screeching all the way. Ho, ho, ho. I'm Grace, and this is my co-host, Ava. This week we present Chasing Love by Kat T. Mason. This is a whopping 464 pages.
I hate it already.
The audio is 13 hours and 17
Oh!
minutes. It is narrated by Theo Sinclair and Scarlett Everdeen.
That's a stage name.
Yeah.
Oh!
Theo, and then Theo with a high-pitched voice.
He was like, I don't know, the Hunger Games are pretty good.
Goodreads rating is 3.6. And what is notable is that it costs $30 to own a hardcover copy of this book.
She's making them from home like the man called Hardbounds. That's why.
It is, but again, I got it from the library. So I paid nothing.
What's it called?
Chasing Love. Okay.
I heard a rumor today that Verity was getting made into a movie.
It is. You heard correctly.
Is that the one with the
headboard?
No. Surfboard.
Headboard. Okay.
I was like, when I saw it, I was like, did Grace read me this one?
Sure
And then
did.
I was like, is it the one with the murdered lady in the water on the beach?
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought.
Terrible.
I was like, and then they were like, the guy from Divergent is gonna be in it apparently.
Is he?
And I was like, why do they hate him? Why are they punishing him?
He's a good actor. I don't know why they do this to him.
Right. I was like, isn't the husband like the cuck of that whole book? Like, why are they fucking on that dude so hard?
He's not the cuck of the book. He's like the villain of the book.
No, he's low-key the like cuck of the book because
the two women just seduce him with their
they're just like they're like I'm a psycho.
The end.
Psycho killer.
Yeah, but remember then he murders a bunch of
and then and then he's like, I don't know what's real. Death.
I'll watch that before I'll watch, I want to call it Flowers in the Attic. Not that, not in. It ends with us.
Flowers everywhere else.
So nothing like that.
Turtles, you've heard of turtles all the way down. Now you got flowers all the way down.
So it's dual first person point of view in New York City and then in the small town that both people grew up in.
And a trailer park that's a block off of the
trailer block away. No.
By the way, it's Times Square and a trailer home.
No, it's a small town they grew up in, and at one point they say it's California, and the other point they say it's like Massachusetts. They can't decide.
It's like the girl who wrote that other one, where she was like, it was North Carolina, where the crawdads sing.
Yes, and she's like 30 minutes from
like,
the coast is Asheville.
She was like, I rode my bike to Chapel Hill, the beach, and Biltmore House.
I wouldn't say that. She said that she drove all those places.
No, she rode her bike at one point. To one, it was like an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Because he came and got her on her bike in his truck. I watched that movie though; it was not bad.
It is inconsistent, so it's dual POV.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But it's inconsistent with the timelines. So sometimes you'll see a scene from her POV and then his, and then sometimes they'll go chronologically and you can't ever tell where it's going. So that's annoying because sometimes I'll be like, oh, 3 days have passed. No, we rewound 3 days and had to watch that same cringe scene from the other person's point of view. And that's terrible. There's 4 consistent characters, 2 main characters, and then 2 consistent side characters. Charlie is the main.
Lost Town. How many was that total?
4. Charlie is the main girl. She.
The way you said that made it sound like there was like 12.
No, feels
you were like 4, 3, 2, 7, 18.
This is not a Sarah Jessica Moss book. There's not that many POVs. Okay.
Okay, that is the worst.
So Charlie is not one of those women who wants to get married and have kids.
So a regular person.
She's of Cuban heritage with huge tits and long legs.
So a regular person.
Lex is the main guy. He's 6'2", filthy rich, doesn't talk to women who aren't his mother or sister.
Well, clearly he does, because we're here.
That's going to prove to be incorrect. We have Julian, who looks like Christian Bale, grew up in a small town in North Carolina, and then moved to New York City.
New York City.
And then we have Adriana, who is Lex's sister and Charlie's former best friend. As I normally do, there's a bunch of flashbacks. So I'll start with the flashbacks. This will make you flip back and forth. Because that's a third timeline for them to jump to. So sometimes we're seeing the same thing from different people's perspectives. Sometimes time is going in a regular motion. Sometimes we're in a flashback. Sometimes we're in a flashback watching the same thing from the other person's perspective. Kill me. So in the past, Charlie's spending the night at her best friend's house, Adriana, and she goes downstairs for a drink. Fucking rookie for not bringing her Stanley to bed.
But one time I made this, what I thought was a hilarious Twitter post about the most unbelievable, and they're like, what did you have to suspend your belief about to like a piece of fiction or media that you like? And I was like, the most unbelievable part of 50 Shades of Grey was that she wakes up randomly, or like any book like that where they get saved by some dude and they wake up in their house and they didn't have to bring any type of medicine with them.
Oh yeah.
You had no medicine you needed to take whatsoever. You
not a mood stabilizer,
right,
not a antidepressant.
And even if you want to say, well, I'm so well adjusted and my parents love me so much that I don't take antidepressants.
No, if you were well adjusted, you wouldn't be at that man's house.
Right. First off, write that down. But also, we're human beings. We live in bodies. Most people had a heart murmur or something at some point in their life. You don't have to take anything. You didn't need to take a melatonin. You don't have low iron.
Magnesium.
Right. You don't have to take shit. You're just in his house and you're take, and they're doing that little.
You don't even have.
They love to do that. He put 2 Advil tablets on a table and said, take these.
They have a cute little anemia or something.
Right.
So she goes downstairs, runs into Lex, who quote unquote accidentally grabs a tit when she runs into him.
Oh my.
Oh, they're 8 years age difference between them. So she's 17.
He's the guy from that 90 Day Fiance thing I told you about. The new 90 Day Fiance drama is that the people who are currently on it, the guy is 31 and the girl is 21. They met 10 years ago. So apparently he went on a mission trip to one of these countries and met her, and she was in one of those youth groups, and they had a friendship, and then I guess the...
No.
Hey, beautiful lady.
It was not the minute she was of age. I'm going to burst your bubble right now. Okay, so they're 8 years apart.
Just like the 90 Day Fiance, dude.
He is home from med school staying with his parents because his new mattress hasn't been delivered.
So romantic.
And he smells like glorious man sweat.
Ooh.
They banter and she does not get a drink, and she tells him congrats on his wedding.
I'm sorry. He was married and at college and didn't have a mattress. Where's his wife?
She's at home sleeping on the floor. Not on a mattress.
She went home to her parents' house too?
Uh-huh.
It's not 48 hours about something like that.
He's 6 months into his marriage, and Lex is upset that his wife wants a nice house and a family because he only married her because she had mid-conversation skills and gave him good blowjobs. And he is a prize. He gaslights her about the fact that he said they could start a family after they moved and both had good jobs. She has a good job, but he's unemployed, finishing school. They fight, and he goes to his parents' house in a huff, which is weird.
Wasn't the mattress. So she had a mattress.
Charlie is there.
I don't have time to fight you. I have to go home and grope a teenager. Obviously.
I gotta go to my mom's.
Better things on the agenda. Bigger and better. On to more. Love is in the title of this book.
He's only human, so he can't help staring at her 17-year-old tits as his sister throws candy at her. He throws a piece of candy in her mouth and tells her that the next time...
I'm sorry, when you say throw, I'm like...
overhand.
Being it. Just wah!
He tells her next time she should find him if she really wants to eat candy.
Come grab one of my tits.
Adriana runs out to talk to her boyfriend on the phone, and Lex stays for a hearty lech. He asks her if she has a boyfriend, and she says no.
Good, because I have a wife.
She says no, the guys here are so gross.
Aforementioned guy in room. I cannot. This is so horrible.
What's the two chapters? They flirt and watch Animal Planet.
I'm in a sniper's nest. This is horrible.
They flirt and watch Animal Planet Or rather,
Oh my God.
she watches Animal.
Yeah, because, that's what I watched when I was that age also. Every time I got near a TV,
Because I was a
I
child.
was like, oh, crank that Animal Planet, bro.
She watches Animal Planet while he leers at her.
He's also watching Animal Planet, in case you were wondering.
He gets hard while watching the documentary about horny monkeys and wishing he could
Oh!
greet her having sex like they do.
Ah! I'm sorry. If she ends up with this person, in the toilet. In the toilet. You cannot start off with, I dreamed about you and monkeys together
I have to say, pause.
at 17 and then be like, we have the most beautiful love match.
When I am reading this shit, there are times where the only thing that gets me through is that I get to hear you caterwaul about it later.
This is
I'm like, oh,
disgusting.
she's gonna hate
That is
this.
disgusting. Thanks, I hate it.
So they fight over the TV remote by wriggling all over each other.
Ew.
And he gets an obvious boner.
Boner alert.
Adriana comes downstairs and throws a wet blanket over their patty finger party.
It's like an actual wet blanket.
No.
I'm disappointed.
Lex agrees to go to her birthday party next week if only he can inappropriately gape at Charlie the whole time.
Oh, your brother doesn't want to come to your party unless your underage friend is there.
Yes!
It's like, oh, he must love you so much.
Later on, Charlie is leaving school in the rain and her car battery is dead. Unfortunately, Lex just happened to be in the neighborhood in a white tank top.
I read this thing one time about this guy who said that in North Carolina, by the base and what's it called? The Marines troll the high school. And they're all driving Mustangs and they call them sharks because they look like little fins. And that reminds me of that.
Yep.
Because he's just hanging out there.
So he tells her she has to come to his house with him to pick up the jumper cables, and he makes her change into a different t-shirt because hers is all wet and no other reason.
Is it his wife's t-shirt?
His wife is out of town helping babysit for family, and Charlie looks at his wedding.
wife is a neonatal nurse and she's saving babies somewhere.
His wife is out of town helping people.
Helping people. The end.
Charlie looks at his wedding pictures while he looks for the jumper cables.
They're going to write some kind of weird thing where she's like a monster and that's why they have to be together, right?
I'd love to tell you. I would love to tell
This
you.
is horrible.
Charlie looks at his wedding pictures while he looks for the cables and talks to his wife on the phone.
Ew.
She asks why they don't have kids. He says it's because he thinks they're too young.
Not for lack of trying.
Who is they? Because one of them is too young, and it's not the ones in the marriage.
He feels too young. He has that Peter Pan whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
couldn't be me.
They get the jumper cables, and he asks who she's going to prom with, and then shits on her date and asks how often she has sex.
How to do you?
Right. She kisses him on the cheek as a thank you, and then goes to bed and stays up all night cradling the hockey jersey he made her change into.
No! Do you know how often you read these to me? I don't even say I read them because I don't. I would never. You read these and I go, I just know for a fact that I'm the wrong one. like what would I do in this scenario? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't because you would have picked the wrong one. Couldn't be me. What's wrong with you? I would say my wet shirt. I wear no shirt before I wear that shirt.
So Lex is still in middle school.
Middle school?
Lex is still in medical school, not middle school. And he's violently throwing up during every clinical.
Trying.
Also, his dad is like his preceptor, and I don't think that's allowed. He gets
They're allowed to do some stuff because I just saw a video of someone's dad putting their white coats on.
yeah, you can do that.
So they do some.
No, like you're I don't think your dad is supposed to like lead you through clinicals. I'm doing a vaginal exam. My son is gonna do one right after I'm done.
Seems wrong. I feel like it has happened. I don't think that maybe it shouldn't, but I feel like it has.
In New York City.
New
Well, no, they're not anymore.
York City.
Sorry, they're not in New York yet. They're in the trailer park next to it. He gets home and his wife tells him that she got tested and that the doctor told her she won't be able to have kids unless she has them soon.
Thank God.
And he tells her enough of this baby bullshit and ignores her valid concern of not being able to have a family. He doesn't understand why the girl just won't shut up. Adriana calls and tells him that she's at Charlie's house and her computer is broken and he cannot hide his excitement at going over and seeing Charlie to help fix it. He blows off his wife's attempts to have sex with him and runs to Charlie's house like a giddy schoolgirl. When he goes over, he sees her parents and it's so awkward.
I need to know who picked this up and read it.
Me.
And was like, I can't wait to read about this weird wrecky situation. The fuck?
Adriana ditches them in the bedroom with the computer with no hesitation, and Lex can't get past how he wants her purity and her innocence.
But she said her puberty.
Her parents, who are separated, start arguing, and Charlie says she can't imagine why people who promise in sickness and health in marriage vows won't keep their promises. Lex is staunchly in favor of ending your marriage if someone else would make you happier.
Okay, then do that. That's not what you're doing.
Next week, Charlie's hanging out with Adriana at her birthday party after a week of flirtatious texting with Lex.
Next week on Weird Ass Pedophilia.
And walks in on him sitting on his wife's lap. She's super nice to her and says she's so happy to be a part of the family with her, and I can tell immediately this will not age well. She, being the wife, spikes the children's party punch and then teases Charlie about hooking up with a childhood friend, and Lex leaves in a huff. Charlie follows him outside to check on him, and he chides her for having sex with other people, and he kisses her while his wife is in the other room. He's very apologetic about it and runs inside.
This is literally so horrible. I'm waiting for the... So you know how, for the most part, there's a plot?
No, there's not one.
Like, there'll be, like, a love story, but, like, there'll be, like, an underlying plot. They'll be, like, trying to defeat his...
No, I was going to make that point.
Or, like, there'll be, like, a nuke or some stupid shit.
Remind me to make that point when we're done, because I was thinking that exact
What
same
is
thing.
the plot?
I was thinking
Are
that
they
same
taking
thing.
down the local town paper?
Because you have
Is
to
there
have
a body
one or two things.
missing?
If you're a romance,
And then they have to do a third act breakup. Like, there's... Like, come on, bitch.
it's
What
a
is
romance.
happening?
if it's a romance and the plot is the romance, then almost every single chapter has to have heavy interaction between the two characters. If it's a romance with a side plot that's relatively interesting, you have to develop that. This was neither of those things.
No!
The two of them were awful, and then the side plots didn't exist. It was just people existing and being shitty to each other. So Lex goes back inside and threatens some of the high schoolers to not touch her.
This is also like that phenomena which we need to give a name to.
Wait.
When you
Before you
give
say it,
people names and then you use their names and we don't, and then I'm still here over here like I don't know who the fuck that person
Right.
is, because there's so many people got names at the beginning and then people they act like you met them in person and you know who they are.
oh, they did
And
it the
you're
whole
like,
time.
Homie, who are you? And they're like, so and so did this. Bitch, I don't know who that is.
No, there's like 12 people that she does that with the whole time.
I hate. We need to name that.
Name
Yeah, we
William.
right. We need to name whatever that is.
It's horrible.
Because
There's
it's-
like so many.
It happens. It's a thing in media, and I resent it so heavily.
What are we supposed to remember people's names now? Thanks, Obama.
It's like kind of like when they world build horribly. It's like you're supposed to remember them without meeting them enough. They're just like
I don't
they'll,
even-
they'll be like
Yeah.
they'll be like that was Cameron, and then later they'll be like Cameron did this. Cameron got hit by a car. And you're like, who the fuck was Cameron? Did we meet Cameron?
Lex goes back inside and threatens some high schoolers not to touch her. A trope I've seen too frequently is one of a grown man intimidating children out of pursuing a teenager they have a crush on.
Their age.
Yes,
Rightly
that's
so.
happened so many times.
Low key, that was 50 Shades of Grey when he was like, don't like, what's your name? I'm sorry, you are 35. She's my age. We graduated
Mhm.
together and you're an adult man.
So he pours his drunk wife into bed later and texts Charlie, telling her he's not actually sorry about kissing her. She tells him she's not interested in him because he's married, and he says that's fair. He, however, also decides that since he went ahead and broke his marriage vow already, he might as well do it again.
Okay.
The next morning, good old Lex goes back to his parents' house to help clean up after that party, and they clean up a bunch of condoms from all around the pool house.
Brother.
He tries to fondle her titties, but they're interrupted by Adriana and his wife. Thank God. His wife tells him that she's gotten bored after they moved to his hometown and doesn't understand why they haven't had sex in a month, and storms out.
I know why.
He goes back in and kisses Charlie again and tells her that she's the reason his wife resents him and he won't fuck her anymore.
This is your fault.
You and your 17-year-old tit. The next day, she goes to the doctor to get on birth control, and the doctor asks her if his intern can sit in on the appointment.
Why would they put that in a book?
The intern is Lex. Asked and answered.
Thanks, I hate it. How much
Did you not see that coming?
because
Put a strange detail directly to the book.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard. This is the worst thing ever. This is when people make those lists and they're like, good night to everyone with a blue coat and a red car who eats Oreo, and good night to anyone who blah, blah, blah. Good night to everyone except anyone who enjoys gynecological romance. Fuck all y'all into the
So she has to outline her sexual history for him, and she tells the doctor that her next sexual partner is a little married hoe. When the real doctor leaves, Lex kisses her on the exam table. Told you! Which is another felony.
Bum, 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 bum,
And gives
bum.
He gives his teen mistress a prescription for birth control so he can safely fuck her.
I want to know who paid $30 for this.
Just because it's for sale doesn't
This
mean
is a-
somebody bought it.
This is a crime. Also, you remember I told you that thing where I was like, just because it lives in your head doesn't mean it needs to be. And then there's like a lot of people who are like writing like Jason Voorhees books, and they're like, yeah, fuck a monster.
Fuck this guy's a monster.
I would take that over this.
People don't want to fuck monsters. They want to fuck nice guys in masks.
Right, like.
So he decides to take up playing the piano again, and they do the corniest shit and sing together while he plays. She leaves to go to a party with Adriana, and his wife swoops in and asks him if he thinks Charlie is pretty and asks him to go home and fuck her. He says he's too tired, and to be fair, between juggling 14-hour shifts and entertaining a mistress, he has to be exhausted. He decides he should do
Honestly, it's not that hard. It's literally just him at work talking to her.
it. Right, true.
Going home to his parents and talking to
Yeah.
her. So it's not like he's juggling that much.
That is true. He's multitasking. He decides he should do it to her to assuage suspicion. Adriana walks in on them and then runs outside to tell Charlie.
That she saw her brother fucking his wife? That's not
Yeah.
a natural. Why would you tell your friend that?
Charlie is hella pissed that he tried to have sex with his wife, but still simps after him.
Your priorities are not in the right place.
He comes over to see her and Adriana and asks if she's hooking up with any of her high school friends.
It's like that tale as old as time. Like, you tell me that you guys don't sleep together anymore. They're married.
Right.
That's such a weird expectation to hold them to.
Right. She says it's not your business you tried to have sex with your wife. He goes to a dinner party with his wife and embarrasses her in front of everyone because she tries to talk about having
Because he's a pig. Because he's a criminal.
because she tries
Because he sucks.
because she tries to talk about having a baby again, and then he runs out to go find Charlie.
Because he's a moldy, vile piece of shit.
She and Adriana are at the club that apparently caters to underage children, and then he dances with her in front of God and everyone. If your brother, who has never liked hanging out with you, all of a sudden hung on to you like a fat leech whenever your hot friend was around, would you not notice?
She noticed. She ran out to tell him he was fucking his wife. She knows.
Adriana goes off with her boyfriend, and Lex and Charlie hook up after admiring each other's naked bodies in the moonlight.
First off, if he has a kid with her at the end of this, I'm going to kill myself. Number one, right? It's not going to be whatever the fuck this is called anymore. It's not going to be read it and screechy more. It's going to just be read it.
Read it in gunshot voice.
Read it. No. Secondly,
Read it and ram myself into a cement pile.
read it in arsenic. Secondly,
We're like a quarter way done.
fuck!
So he tells her that he hasn't had sex with his wife in months. Charlie gives him a
And the lie
blowjob.
detector determined that was a lie.
She gives him a blowjob and swallows, which is very special for him.
And she's the most blowiest of blowjobs that ever blowjobs. She's a magical angel. And God gave her the gift of blowjob. No one's ever done it before. She's never done it before, but she's so good at it.
They start fucking constantly. She's missing school.
Did all of these people go to the same school for writing this horrible shit?
I think so they start fucking constantly. She's missing school to go do the do, and he's letting her. They're texting in code, so
Well,
his wife
he's not
can't tell.
her dad. What do you mean he's letting her?
Well, he is her gynecologist, so he does have her health and welfare in mind.
You just write her notes to get her out.
He's writing her doctor's notes.
We exclude her from class today. We have something else to do.
She has tickets to Pound Town.
Ew!
They're texting in code, so his wife can't tell. They meet and go hiking one evening, and he tells her he loves her, and she reciprocates. She gets asked to prom by a guy who wants to have sex with her, and Lex is incensed by this. But when he goes to confront her, his wife walks up and kisses him in front of Charlie. He goes so far as to smash Adriana's mirror when she tells him to lay off her underage friend for going to prom with an age-appropriate high schooler. When she goes to leave for prom, her dad tells her that back in the day, Lex used to get in trouble with drugs and alcohol. The drugs in question are pot. Dad gives her date the whole "don't fuck my daughter" speech, and he has the right idea but the wrong bitch. When Adriana shows up to prom, she has an unexpected date in tow. It's her 25-year-old brother.
She went to prom with her brother? Or he just said, you have to take me so I get to see your friend?
That is a point of view we don't get to have.
I'm telling you that's what happened.
Lex cannot fathom why Charlie is not happy to see him, a grown married man, at her prom. Her date walks up and has a pissing contest with Lex before walking away, after which Lex tells her that her date has a tiny wiener.
How do you know? Have you seen it?
Maybe he saw it at the doctor's office.
Right.
Another one of the classic classmates, tells her that people saw her and Lex doing it in the car one time. Charlie gaslights them and says she doesn't know what she's talking about. Immediately, the girl who brought it up shits herself in front of everyone. Adriana's boyfriend is able to make it to prom after all, making Lex obsolete, and they sneak off and do it in a classroom. There's this amalgamous, non-specific lump of time where we never get any specific plot detail.
That was pretty specific.
But in that point of time, Lex's wife gets pregnant with someone else, tries to convince Lex that it is his despite his medical degree.
And him knowing that he didn't sleep with her?
Exactly. No, he needs the medical degree to tell him that.
Okay.
And the whole family finds out that he was sleeping with Charlie.
And they don't call the police?
Right. They reference later on many, many times about how he left Charlie to go back to his wife and she'll never forgive him for that. And they never spoke again. Somehow he left her standing on a cliff, but we never actually see that happen. They just talk about it all the time.
Who's not going to forgive him?
That he left her standing on a cliff. Charlie's never going to forgive him for trying to work on his marriage. Okay. In the present day, Charlie is a successful New York lawyer. She's now the same age that Lex was when he started leching on her, and I promise you she would never look at a 17-year-old that way.
And they're not together?
They're not together right now. They haven't spoken in 8 years. She goes to the gym. She's terrible at working out, and this guy teases her, and they start going on dates.
Oh, good.
Lex is living in London. He wakes up with some brunette who he can't remember the name of, calls his assistant to help him get a new hotel room for him to sneak off to because he doesn't want to bother cutting loose the hussy from last night. He fucked her because it's been a while since he got some pussy.
Ew.
She was a dirty little whore, but he's mad because she had brown hair and he doesn't fuck girls with brown hair.
Clearly he does.
Not anymore.
A lie.
He's lived in London for 5 years and has adopted a British accent in that short time. He gets to work and starts immediately shitting on young girls who work there for gossiping on the clock. He's also pissy that he's having to open an office in New York and go to charity events while he's there. His sister calls and says she got him a date for an upcoming charity ball, and he says that she better be a fit bird. He reads an article about taxes and gets a blowjob from a redheaded flight attendant.
Ew.
And when he gets to New York, he gets lunch with his mom and sister and complains that women don't know how to shut the fuck up. Charlie goes to Hawaii with a friend, and there's no reason for them to have told us this because she leaves and comes back in the same sentence. She misses her brand new boyfriend, who she met at the gym. His name is Julian. And her best friend, not Adriana, she and Adriana don't talk anymore, asks if she likes Julian's baloney pony.
I'm sorry, what? Is that a wiener? Because if it is, that's the worst name I've ever heard for it.
Julian calls and her vagina throbs thinking about him.
Ew.
He's nice and interested in her life and thinks that she smells good, and they make plans for later. They eat dinner and they're horny the whole time, and he asks about her life, but she just wants to bone. He asks her if she's had any serious relationships, and she said that she had just this one crush when she was a senior in high school. They finish dinner and have good sex, and she's glad he checks all of her boxes, including the one in her pants.
Oh,
So they date for 3 months, always having good sex and a nice time. They go out for their 3-month anniversary and have just started saying I love you. So Julian does the obvious logical thing and proposes at dinner.
Ew.
It's very awkward because she thought they were going to break up. They go home and have gross, grunty sex, but she can't come, so she fakes it, and he says he can't wait for them to get married and have exploding orgasms all over each other and have kids.
Ew.
Nothing dries her up like talking about kids because she is not like every other woman desperate for kids to outrun their biological clocks. As soon as he leaves, she takes the ring off, and her ex from high school, not Lex, calls, and he tells her to get over herself and be happy to be engaged. So she puts the ring back on and has nightmares for the rest of the night. Lex is out for his last business meeting in New York when he catches a glimpse of Charlie and Julian at a restaurant. He immediately starts staring at her tits and follows her to the bathroom. He's glad she hasn't changed much since he last saw her when she was a teenager. She tells him to go away. You were a high school fling. He asks if Julian is her boyfriend, and when she says no, he assumes that she has become a cold bitch who fucks with no attachment. Okay, Mr. Flight Attendant blowjob. He realizes that Julian is her fiance and has a meltdown and decides he will stop at nothing to get her back. Charlie goes to work, and her friend tells her that 3 months is not long enough to get engaged to someone. Charlie says, no, I love him. And her friend says that's not enough time. You shouldn't rush into it just so that you can move on from a high school fling 9 years ago.
Right.
One of her other friends runs in and tells her that they got tickets to the charity ball. She goes to lunch with Julian and begrudgingly asks him to go to the ball with her. He tells her that he wants 5 kids, and she agrees to this enthusiastically. She feels like she's being watched, and it's because she is by fucking predatory Lex. She runs to the bathroom again and only just now notices his British accent. He says he looked for her back in the day, but obviously not hard enough. She goes back to her table without going to the bathroom, and she and Julian leave, but not before she makes prolonged eye contact with Lex on her way out. She goes back to work and her friend tells her that she should have gotten his number so she can get closure. Lex finishes up his business lunch and goes back to his hotel and instantly calls someone to invade her privacy and look into her life. He doesn't understand why she wasn't happy to see him. His assistant reminds him that he has the charity ball, and he's mad that he won't have time to hunt Charlie down and force her to talk to him. His assistant gives him all the information on her life, and he's mad that she became a lawyer and has a house in Connecticut when the last time he talked to her, all of her life plans revolved around staying close to him. He gets rock hard while thinking about her and needs a release.
No.
In parentheses, it's okay to waste a boner, my man.
Apparently it's not.
Some girl in a bar takes him to the bathroom and tells him that he's a fine specimen and gives him a blowjob while he pictures Charlie. And he leaves and takes a shame shower and goes to bed while Facebook stalking her some more. The next day, he tells his sister that he saw Charlie and whines that she's engaged to someone else. His sister is way too nice to him about all of this. He goes and picks up his date for the charity ball, all while pining for Charlie. Charlie gets to the ball, and she and Julian are horny for each other the whole time, even though she's thinking about Lex.
No.
Julian is nice and has the nerve to actually care about the charity, while Lex only cares about ruining Charlie's night. Turns out, he and Julian low-key know each other. Lex tells the group that she and he, quote-unquote, dated 9 years ago, even though they didn't date. He just fucked a teenager behind his wife's back.
And no one's gonna do that math?
No, apparently not. Later, while she's dancing with Julian, Lex cuts in and asks for a dance, and he smells like home. He tells her that she's wearing the same color dress she wore at prom.
Which he knows.
He was at her prom! He asks her to meet for drinks later, but she thinks he's a weak cuck who chose to fight for his marriage instead of leaving his wife for a high schooler. He says, "Oh, don't worry, I left my wife," but she ditches him on the dance floor and goes back to Julian. Not without making more prolonged eye contact with him from across the room.
Bro.
Adriana, who's also at this charity ball, finds her and immediately starts apologizing profusely for everything that went down with them 9 years ago. They hug, and Charlie imagines she's hugging her brother Lex instead of her.
Oh, girl.
They go to get a drink, and Adriana immediately tells her that way back when, Lex had tried to go to Cuba to find her because he thought she'd gone there to be with her mom, and that the baby his wife said she was pregnant with wasn't his. Charlie says that doesn't really matter because the fact that he thought the baby could be his meant that they were having sex. This is the most interesting charity ball that has ever happened because Charlie goes to the bathroom again, bathroom queen, and Lex follows her to ask her if she loves her fiance and forces a kiss on her. She asks what the fuck is wrong with him, while he begs her to talk to him, and she says, "No, fuck you, I moved on," and awkwardly goes back to the ballroom. Julian tells her work has called him away and leaves her there in the care of her desperate ex.
Work? What does he do for work?
He's like a fucking PR person or something for politicians. We also learn when we have read the whole thing again from Lex's perspective that he ran to the bathroom for a quick wank when he saw her in the prom-like dress. Lex tricks Charlie's friend into taking her to a club he owns and immediately snatches her up and takes her to the VIP section. He drapes himself over her and sucks a lemon while they drink. This makes her want to assault his beautiful mouth.
How about just assault?
He says that the last time she got that drunk, they had a great time, but does not mention that she was underage at the time.
No.
He gets pissy that her fiance is calling and texting to check on her well-being and tells her she better not text him back. She writhes on the dance floor with Lex to Red Red Wine by Neil Diamond before he takes her to the kitchen because apparently the nightclub is a full-service restaurant as well, but thank the good Lord they are interrupted by a poor janitor doing his job before they can fuck.
Not so good for the man.
Not so good for him. She goes to leave with her friends and sees Lex's ex begging to get into the club.
Ew, girl. Self-respect.
Lex is hoping that she didn't see his ex-wife and he is in for a big disappointment because she did. He's proud of himself for telling her that she belongs to him and is pissy that she dared tell him that she's confident in her decision to marry someone else. He finally realizes that she is not a business deal. She's a full-grown woman who can make her own decisions. Her friend finally gets a grip and says maybe you should leave this inebriated girl alone. Charlie wakes up hungover and can't remember all of the events of the previous day, but her friends tell her that they are pretty sure she didn't have sex with anyone.
Pretty sure.
She goes to
I'll tell you though.
She goes to lunch with Adriana and asks her if Lex told her any explicit details from last night.
Okay, here's the thing. Those two sentences. You can't tell me who I fucked last night, but tell me every word that man said.
Adriana,
let me know, girl.
Adriana says,
we don't know, we weren't with you. I don't know if you fucked him, but here's let me give you the get down. Who are you?
Adriana,
run it down for me. Get out of here.
She says no, her fucking brother does not tell her sordid details about his sex life.
How about I wasn't there, since I don't know if you slept together and I also didn't hear everything he said? It's a moot point. They can't have been with her and not been with her. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. God.
She says that she knows his ex-wife was there and that she's just some...
Did you perform this hit and run? Were you inside the truck or outside of it? Yes. Tell me what they said. No.
She says she's just some fucking bitch at this point.
First off, aren't we all just some fucking bitch at one point?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Julian comes home from his business trip and makes her a romantic dinner with cupcakes from her favorite bakery that his aunt so happens to own, while telling her about his work with orphans.
I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be a blah, 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 and then we're going to get to that line. It's going to be like, and just so happens my uncle owns Disney World. That's how that feels every time they do that.
I would let my husband cheat on me with a 18-year-old if he owned Disney World.
Disney World?
Not an underage person, though. I have standards.
18 and 1 minute.
So they try to fool around while she pictures Lex, but her phone pings, and it is Lex who got her number from her friend.
First off, that's a lie. He done been texting her.
No, so I guess she changed her number since she was 17.
Ooh, fancy pants, rich Fuck you.
Lex is trying to gaslight her into hearing him out, and Julian is called away again by work. By those orphans, I guess. She goes home and touches herself thinking about, guess who? Not Julian. She's in good company because Lex is doing the same thing in the shower, but at least he's picturing her as an adult now. Small graces.
First off, we don't know that for sure.
No, it does say that. They do say that.
I don't believe it. Does that help?
She agrees to meet him for coffee the next day, and thank fuck they just have the most boring fucking conversation. Lex goes back to London and keeps up the flirt texting, and it dawns on him just now that he could have looked her up on Facebook, which he did earlier too. Whatever. He sees comments about her going to the movies with Julian, and Rage texts her, asking her why she's still seeing him.
First off, it's not like he got on her OF and saw them fucking.
I know!
How dare you go to a movie? I saw you had to watch me be married all through high school. So you go to the movie with your fiance? Get out of here, bitch.
So he decides to abandon his billion-dollar business empire to go back to New York to cockblock his former mistress.
New York City!
He tries to punish her by giving her the silent treatment on the flight, and I have news for him. It's not a punishment.
Right. Oh, you're being quiet? That's what I was hoping for.
He tries to touch himself in that airplane bathroom, but he needs to preserve his strength. He sneaks into her office despite the fact that she told him she was not interested. They fuck, and Julian calls, and Lex makes her answer mid-thrust.
No.
And then has a hissy fit when she tells him that she loves him before hanging up. He calls her a bitch and then explodes inside of her.
No!
She meets up with Adriana right after, and she tells her about the aftermath of the family learning of the affair and asks her to be a maid of honor while Lex is the best man. Also asks, does she think that Charlie and Lex will be able to be in the same room together?
Lex is the best man of what?
Adriana's wedding.
Oh.
The odds are in her favor of Charlie and Lex being able to be in the same room together. They were inhabiting the same body for a moment there.
That is no. No.
The next day, Lex's ex pops into Charlie's office to apologize to her for being angry about her husband having an affair with her. Rightfully, Charlie says that she's the one that should be apologizing, and the ex-wife says that Lex has always been in love with her, so no hard feelings.
Many hard feelings. The feelings are Mount Everest up in here.
Charlie decides she's going to take a big shit on Lex for all of this. Lex's business is suffering because he blew off the meeting in London and he doesn't care. Charlie shows up at his new office in a trench coat and stockings and lets him put it in her butt, and then tells him that she will be his fuck buddy but nothing more. So he, Charlie Brown sad, walks back to his hotel.
Charlie Brown?
Charlie has been running in the mornings and unknowingly befriends Lex's assistant, who tells her that her boss has been an annoying little prick about some girl from the past.
Some girl.
Julian comes to see her and gives her a box of bridal magazines as a present and tells her she should meet his mom when she comes to town in a few weeks.
She never met his mom. First off, no.
He tells her he's going to be too busy.
Remember when you got me in trouble because I was an adult and you weren't? Come meet my mom.
No, this is Julian, her fiance.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the other guy.
Yeah. She already knew that guy's parents because she was best friends with his sister. Lex storms into her office as soon as Julian leaves and confronts her for forgiving everyone from the past except for him.
I can forgive her whatever I want, you raggedy hoe.
She's happy that she gets to be the one who is married while he suffers. Her friends throw her a party and Lex shows up to make things awkward between her and Julian. Her friends tell her to tell them about the meet cute with Julian while Lex fumes in the corner. So like when they met at the gym. He decides that he will tell the story about when he met Charlie in competition with this, which was when he was 15 and she was 7, which is, in my opinion, not a good talking point.
A bad time was had by all.
She can't decide which wiener she will end the night with. Lex drags her into the bathroom for a quickie, and he tells her that she's hurting his feelings by not immediately forgiving him and only using him for sex. He tells her that she has to break up with Julian and be with him instead. And she says, LOL, no. They go to open gifts, and Lex gives her a necklace with a pendant that is the same image of something that she has a tattoo of on her hip. And he puts it on her from behind in front of Julian. This is Julian's first clue that something could be going on between her and Lex.
This is Julian's 13th reason.
So he tries to leave and she runs after him, telling him that Lex means nothing. And then Julian gives her the key to his house as her birthday present. Lex goes on stage and plays When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars. And she goes up afterwards and sings Just Give Me a Reason by Pink in response. He goes home with her and goes through her phone while she sleeps and is enraged that she's been nice to Julian since he's come back into her life. She tells him that she loves him in her sleep, and he leaves and asks his PI to dig up dirt on Julian. The next day, her friends pop up to her house with Lex to go to a baseball game. Since she's not like other girls, she likes baseball and knows about sports. While in the car, her friend's kid tells everyone that his parents only got married because his mom was knocked up. They spontaneously agree that they should stop doing the deed and just be friends. One of her other girlfriends tells her that she should ask Lex how many people he's had sex with in the last 8 years. After the game, they go for a walk.
Why do I want to know that? Why do you know that? Who
Why does
cares?
anyone care? Why does anyone care? After the game, they go for a walk and he tells her about quitting med school, taking over his grandfather's business. He says he tripled the profits to his grandfather's business in his first year, right? Despite less than 0 experience in business at the time. They meet the next morning prior to him leaving to go to London and do his actual job. The date is on a gigantic luxury yacht, and she says this is not something people do for their friends.
The date is on the moon.
To which he accurately purports that he has no friends.
Money has more money than you do.
She tells him friends tell other friends how many people they've had sex with.
Let friends lick their cooters.
And he's immediately filled with rage at the thought of her having sex with a single other person in the past 8 years. Again, Captain fucking bathroom blowjob. By contrast, he doesn't even know how many people he's been with, but since he used a condom and only did it once per person, they don't count.
Whatever I did, no matter what it was, or how it was, or whatever, doesn't count. But whatever you did, and no matter what it was, even if it was the exact same, it counted.
Yes.
Write that down verbatim.
What do you think Lex's political affiliation is?
I don't think he votes. I think he votes for himself and Elon Musk.
They have the most boring conversation, and the only thing of note is that she calls...
I don't think he votes, Grace, because billionaires don't vote. They buy votes for other people.
That's true. After she leaves, Lex goes to his hotel room and wanks all night until he falls asleep surrounded by tissues. He does not waste an erection.
Is it COVID or... Did you see your girlfriend last night?
Meanwhile, Charlie dreams about being married to him, but she decides she won't lay in bed and touch herself. She'll go for a run. So she meets up with his assistant during their run and tells her that she understands the plight of crack addicts because that's how much she loves and misses Lex's wiener.
What?
The assistant laments that her own boyfriend has been going out on the town and lying about it. Charlie tells her she shouldn't be with someone living a double life, the call coming from deep inside the house. She buys a motorcycle with all of the spare time she has from ignoring her fucking fiance and rides to go meet up with Adriana to talk about the wedding. Adriana tells her to ditch that scrub and get with her bastard brother. Charlie breaks down in tears and insinuates that she is harboring a secret and that's the reason that she won't reconcile with Lex. We never learn the secret. I think you have to read the second book.
Fuck, I'm not doing that.
There's 2 of them.
No.
Adriana consoles her by telling her how much money Lex has.
It's fine, girl. He's a billionaire.
To her
Do you feel
credit,
better now?
Charlie is unbothered because she has her own money.
That's her secret.
Maybe.
Well, her money came from salt mines and stuff.
Lex is apprehensive to go back to London and do his job because he doesn't want to leave Charlie in New York with her fiance. His assistant divulges...
He doesn't want to leave her in New York where she can find out more about him.
The assistant divulges that she's been running in the mornings with a nice, pretty girl, but neither of them put together that it's Charlie. She's texting him all the time and his cock is throbbing every 10 minutes.
What?
Too frequent for him to wink off every single erection he has, which is a character development for him. Adriana calls and tells him that she's throwing an event in
He's just viciously, I can't keep up.
Adriana calls and tells him that she's throwing an event in the Hamptons with the wedding party, and this triggers a tantrum in Lex because he has a golf tournament that weekend.
Not anymore, you don't.
There's a stupid client who's out for his wiener in his business meeting, and he calls her a stupid bitch and a little slut.
Yeah, it's the main girl.
Right, because he still does not respect women. The assistant comes in clutch and rearranges his schedule so he can go to the Hamptons, and he leaves for New York dead set on winning Charlie back. Julian finally stops by Charlie's apartment to confront her for neglecting him and sees that she's still wearing the necklace Lex gave her. He wonders how Lex knew about the hip tattoo, and she gaslights him about it. He says that they should leave and get married in Vegas, and she says no, so he leaves in a huff. She said no because of the Hamptons getaway where Lex will conveniently be as well. When Lex gets to New York, he is impressed that she has a nice car and a driver's license, which is fair because the last time he knew her, she wasn't old enough for a car nor a driver's license. She tells him that he can drive her car as long as for the whole weekend nothing is off limits between them. I assume sexually. I don't think she needed to bribe him with her Maserati, though, to do so. As soon as they get to the Hamptons home, he tells her he wants to slip his cock in her sweet little ass. Instead, they go and play strip poker and truth or dare with the whole group.
When I tell you, you have the wrong one. If a man told me that
he was going to slip his cock in your sweet
little
little ass.
ass, you put him out, get out of my car.
Get the fuck out.
Get out of my car. You owe me $10,000.
I hope you get picked up by that guy who was picking up hitchhikers in the other
Right.
So they go around the group telling everyone the most boring, non-sequential secrets about each other, except Lex tells them that he has to jerk off 5 times a day.
I weep because I can't do it fast enough. Just in tears.
They get wasted and he pretends to propose to her with a key ring, so now she has 2 fiancés. Thank God Adriana does not arrive until the next morning, so she does not have to see her brother playing strip poker with a raging hard-on. They sneak around all weekend, fooling around. Activities include him fingering her on a Ferris wheel and them doing it on the motorcycle on the side of the road.
Ew.
Charlie tells him that she wouldn't marry him because the last time she knew him, he was married and cheating on his wife.
Fair. No. I won't cheat on you, though. You're better than her.
So his PI calls while they're at some fucking carnival in the Hamptons and tells him that she was hospitalized in a psych ward when her grandmother died back when she was 18. And that was around the time that he left her. And since he has a medical degree, he knows that getting admitted to a psych hospital is serious. They decide to spend all night on the beach, and he discloses to her that back in the day, he got blackout drunk and his ex-wife tried to have sex with him and it didn't work, but that's why he thought it was possible that they had had sex. Right. So he actually didn't have sex with her while he was seeing Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie says she still loves Julian and that her relationship is between them and has nothing to do with Lex, and that she just wants Lex physically and nothing more. They have a super awkward ride back to the house without spending the night on the beach, and Lex walks off in a huff. That evening, they have a group bonfire where Charlie asks him why he even married his ex-wife in front of God and everyone, and then leaves when he tells this long, elaborate story about how he proposed to her in this private showing at a zoo. She storms off to her motorcycle, and Lex appears to ride bitch behind her, and they go off for a private conversation. He tells her she has to shit or get off the pot, and she asks if he was going to leave his wife for her back in the day. He says he was, but when he was finally going to do it, she dumped that bombshell about being pregnant on him and he felt stuck. He asks her to marry him and then takes her to the private home of a random judge nearby to do so. She doesn't know what's going on until they're there in the backyard of this poor judge and his aged wife.
Oh my God.
Then they go back to the house where they get in bed, and she gets an email with the hyperlink to an article of a tabloid saying that he's supposed to be engaged to that little slut bitch from that business meeting earlier. So she rides off on her motorcycle, beating herself up for casually marrying him last night. She gets home and passes out, hitting her head on the concrete floor, and texts him to come get her in the end.
Okay. So 0 plot.
Normally, I'll read the first bit of the next book because I'm curious about how they resolve certain issues, but I don't care. I don't care how they resolve the issues because from the beginning, they didn't resolve anything either. They just came back and fucked in a bathroom and then in a kitchen. Okay, so would you I will give you the choice. Where are they now?
No.
Or Eva's quick fiction flip, in which you have to choose 3 main points and changes you could make to change the quality of the story.
Don't fuck a teenager. Stop writing books about gynos. getting to fuck people. That's the worst thing. That's the worst.
Well, here's the thing, is that this thing is like so largely contingent on the fact that she was so young when they first got together. But I do think he could have aged her up to college. Like she could have been a senior in college and he could have been like late of his residency and still had that age gap. Like that still would have worked. If she was like 21 and he was 29 and he was like a third-year resident, that still would have fucking worked and it wouldn't have been gross taking her to prom. Okay, so the age would fix it. What other two things? And his wife,
Gyno.
yeah.
Stop writing about gynos fucking people.
The thing about it is that his wife wasn't a bitch. She was
I
just
don't
wanted a
think
family.
gynos-
She did try to sexually assault him when he was drunk. But aside from that, she wasn't that bad.
The wife sounds awful.
Yeah, the main girl sounds awful. He has a type.
Mm.
So you think that if they aged up and that he wasn't a doctor, that it would have been a good book?
And if I had a plot.
That's too broad. You have to be specific.
No, just like there has to be a goal.
Do you
Like,
know what
they-
had a better plot than this? The Wolf Hotel one. Because at least in that one, she came from this really ultra religious background. So you had this side plot of like her mom
the
calling
Wolf
her,
Hotel?
where she had the beef jerky in her pocket, and then she took her pants off because her tights were
Oh
uncomfortable.
my God. That was bad.
That had a B plot of her parents and her ex-boyfriend like trying to get at her the whole time and like her getting along with like the other dynamics. And this one is just nothing.
Book.
Nothing. People are living their lives. Unfortunately, we have to watch. Yeah, how do you
I
romanticize
don't love.
a man having an affair with a high
I don't
schooler?
like heavy plot. Like when it's like one of the ACOTAR books is just all battle strategy. It's like the worst book ever.
Yeah, I never finished it. I just read all 7 Throne of Glass.
I'm
still
not
reading.
looking for that, but like try to achieve something.
Like a casual stalker.
Try to be doing something.
Fucking something. She's doing nothing with her life. She's just
Be trying to
And do you know what her job is? She's a lawyer. And do
be
you know what
trying to save the family farm.
Do you know what she specializes in?
Contract law?
Law things. It was just plot being, how do I reconcile a man fucking a high schooler? And it was like, oh, it's not.
And not getting
He
caught.
didn't like marry at 19. No, he's 25 plus. He's in med school. He has an age-appropriate college graduate wife. That's just weird. He's like, no, I gotta have these 17-year-old tits. And then when he tells the story where he's like, well, when I met her, she was 7.
Those just the guy from 90 Day Fiancé.
They always have that. That other one had that too, where they were like, oh, in the epilogue, you find out that he started liking her when she was 13. Fuck, that's not romantic. Thank you for listening to Read It and Screech. If you'd like to support, you can always rate, review, and subscribe.